This, there's a there's a crescendo a little bit, and also giving those two apostrophes one beat each, more or less, in feeling. So there's a crescendo and an elongation of that sa. The two apostrophes have taken the place of one long ah. Adityena. Adityena means by means of the sun, from the sun, by means of the sun. So try that with me. I'll repeat it. So if you want to listen again, that's fine. Thank you so much, Patty. We'll miss you. Now I get to be the host. God help us all. We'll be fine. Okay. Diao Shanta Sadityena Shanta. Let's do that again. Diao Shanta Sadityena Shanta. Moving on. Same Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu. Same Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu. So now, give me a thumbs up if your answer is yes. Shall we chant through the whole thing? We'll do it twice, but without a call and response. Okay. Om Prithvi Shanta Sagnina Shanta Sami Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu Antarikshagung Shantan Tadva Yuna Shantan Tanme Shantagung Shuchagung Shamayatu Diao Shanta Sadityena Shanta Same Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu. And once more.
Leslie, can I ask, where do you breathe in the middle part?
Oh, what a question.
It seems like because we turned the M sound to the N sound multiple times, it seemed like I didn't know where to breathe.
Yes, that's right. Because officially, if you will, when we have that the anusvara, antariksha gung shantan tadvayuna, we could breathe there, shantam. But you know, we're going slowly, and when we go slowly, there occurs more need to take breaths whenever we can. So for now, just take a breath where you need to. Let's try that third line. Let's go over that third line twice through, and let's speed it up and see if you can go all the way through Vayuna without taking a breath. Then take a breath before Shantan. Take a big breath, because then it'll continue into Tan Me. So, and then after Me, you can take a breath. Let's see what happens. Om Antarikshagum shantan tadvayuna, breath. Shantan me, breath. Shantagung shuchagung shamayatu. Now, were you all able to go that quickly or almost? Then you can feel the flow. That's true. But it's tough going when we're learning it, because the only way to learn it is to go slowly. So what to do? Was that helpful? Okay, so let's do this one more time with a fairly brisk pace. And let's see. And then see, try not to take breaths between visarga and the next letter, but if you need to, as my Sanskrit teacher, Dr. Sharma, would always say, no heaven will fall down. So we have that. So, and we get forgiven at the end. So here we go. Om Prithvi Shanta Sagnina Shanta, breath. Same Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu. Always take a breath after the Danda line. Antarikshagum shantan tadvayuna, shantan me, shantagum shuchagum shamayatu. Dhyao shanta, breath. Sadityena shanta, breath. Same shanta shuchagum shamayatu. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om shanti shanti shanti. You may have heard me take a breath in the middle of the last shanti, which was cheating. We're not supposed to, but I forgot to take a full breath in the beginning. Forgive me.
Leslie, may I ask a question?
Please ask, and I'll see if the answer comes.
I'm not sure if there's what you can say about it, but the declension that you find in shuchagum and shantagum, I only ever see that in chanting. Like I don't see it in regular verse writing. Do you know what form that is?
And Elizabeth, chime in for an answer. Well, my understanding is that this is a Vedic, something we do in Vedic chanting. And the rule is when there is an anusvara, which means if there's a word ending with the or the m. So let's take the fourth, in the second line. In the second line, we have Same Shanta Shuchagung Shamayatu. Really, it is Shucham Shamayatu, Shucham Shamayatu. But the Vedic rule is when we have the ending, and then there's a consonant following, then there has to be an anusvara. And when anusvara is followed by a sibilant, a sa or a sha, then the gung the ga is in there, is added in there. Now this is a convention in our tradition, handed down through Desikachar. And so I don't know if it's different in other people's traditions of Vedic chants, but it's been very well drilled into us through Sonia and Desikachar and Menaka. So when followed by the sibilant sound, and of course there are exceptions to the rule. I was just going over a Shri Suktam, which is a chant in honor of Lakshmi. And in that Suktam, you don't do it. But here, that's the rule. Anusvara followed by a sibilant sound, such as a sh.
So it's for Sandhi rather than metrical reasons.
I thank you for asking. Yeah, no, as far as I know, it's for Sandhi reasons rather than metrical. And if you're all catching on, if it were metrical, then it would be, then that extra consonant is relevant. But no, it's just treated like a the way we do it with Visarga. And it does change the meter, doesn't it?
And then one more detail, your crescendo and decrescendo in the last two padas, is that just convention, or is it notated, for example, in a chant sheet, or no?
The apostrophes we were taught, they take the place of and when it's double apostrophes, it either takes the place of followed by which conjoins to and I think in this case it's because Aditya is the name of the sun, and we have been taught in this tradition to crescendo a bit and also give each apostrophe a beat, the time value of a beat. And that gets a little, for me, every time I do it, I never know if I'm doing it a little too long or a little too short. And I just wait until I study with Sonia and she can hammer me. And Elizabeth, do you have anything further to say about that? Oh, and then I took poetic license because we came to the end. I thought it would sound nice if we sort of softened it at the end, but that was just.
Thank you.
Yeah. And sometimes on these Zoom things, I'll soften so that you can hear yourselves better, if I remember to do so. Elizabeth, do you have any words of wisdom to add to this? Or if anybody else has anything to add?
No, I could not add to your words of wisdom, Leslie.
Isn't that nice? So we'll return to this chant, but shall we move on to the Bhagavad Gita? And we can report to Bob, who wasn't here, we got all the way through verse 47 in chapter 2.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, everybody was muted the whole time, but I have utter and complete faith that everybody chanted it melodiously and perfectly. People's mouths were moving and there was intention in the expression on the faces. This is really something, these Zoom lessons for anything audible. God, it's really a trip. It's like when I take a yoga class with Patricia Walden, I'm so tempted to just make myself just invisible, turn the video part off, so I don't want her to see me. So moving on, let's repeat number 47 because it's such a famous one. Our right is to the action alone. Here we go. Om Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostva karmani. So now we'll move on to 48. Some beautiful verses coming up. Oh, Om Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangantyatva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvan Yoga Uchyate. So let's try it with 2 lines in call and response. And you let me know, unmute yourself and shout out if you want to go any slower. But I think, as the weeks progress, we seem to be getting it faster. Om Yogastaha Guru Karmani Sangantyatva Dhananjaya. Om Yogastaha Guru Karmani Sangantyatva Dhananjaya. Siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. I just want to draw your attention to the last line, the sandhi that occurs between samatvam yoga uchyate. I'm not sure how hard and fast a rule it is, because I have heard it chanted, samatvam yoga uchyate. But if you really want it to blend, we really should have that sandhi there. So the of vam changes to the nya, that second mouth position, so that it blends right into the ya of yoga. So it's samatvam yoga uchyate. Siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Let's chant the whole verse twice through. Om Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangantyatva Dhananjaya. Siddhya siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Om Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangantyatva Dhananjaya. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. There's also an alternate sandhi in the 3rd line. It could be siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Try that with me. But if that's the case, we have to do the whole line in one breath. So here we go. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Well, we could take a breath after samo, but that's the idea. I think for today we'll make it a choice. I'm probably going to go back to asiddhyo samo bhutva. 49, verse 49. Om Durena hyavarang karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanamanvicha kripana phalahetavaha. We'll do 2 lines at a time. Om Durena hyavarang karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Om Durena hyavarang karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanamanvichha kripana palahetavaha buddhau sharanamanvichha kripana palahetavaha. Twice through all 4 lines. Om Durena Hyavarang Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddhau Sharanamanvichha Kripana Palahetavaha. Om Durena Hyavarang Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddhau Sharanamanvichha Kripana Palahetavaha. Verse number 50. Om Buddhi Yukto Jahati Ha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam. 2 lines at a time. Om Buddhi Yukto Jahati Ha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite. Om Buddhi Yukto Jahati Ha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam. Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam. The whole verse, twice through. Om Buddhi Yukto Jahati Ha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam. Om Buddhi Yukto Jahati Ha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam. So we'll move to 51, and then we'll go back and translate those 4 verses. Om Karma Jam Buddhi hi phalan tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padang gacchantyanayam. Now 2 lines repeated. Om karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalan tyaktva manishinaha. Om karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalan tyaktva manishinaha. And notice the visarga in palam, that changes to palan tyaktva, the dental sound. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha padang gacchantyanayam. And another sandhi in the very last line, padang gacchan, and then gacchanti. So the word originally is gacchanti, meaning they go, but it changes to a Y to get the ya in there. Gacchanti anamayam, to make it blend beautifully. Gacchantyanamayam. And then padangach. So now let's chant the whole 4 verses. Or did I do 2 lines? I can't remember. Will someone please remind me, did we do the 2 lines at a time? And even if we didn't, do we need them? What would you like to do? What do you need to do?
We could do all 4.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all 4, twice through. Om karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalan tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padang gacchantyanayam. Om karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalan tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padang gacchantyanayam. Good. Now, if anyone has a translation that you'd like to share, I'll start with our beloved Winthrop Sargent. So number 48. Fixed in yoga, perform actions, having abandoned attachment, Arjuna, and having become indifferent to success or failure. It is said that evenness of mind is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So I think last week we just went on with the same translation. I think it saves time. So we'll move on to 49. And then I'd like to have another translation of them all. So 49 here with Mr. Sargent. Action is inferior by far to the yoga of wisdom, Arjuna. Dhananjaya. Seek refuge within wisdom. Despicable are those whose motives are based on the fruit of action. And then verse number 50, he whose wisdom is established casts off here in the world both good and evil actions. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Yoga is skill in action. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. And finally, those who are established in wisdom, the wise ones who have abandoned the fruit born of action, which takes us back to number 47, or no, back to number 47, and are freed from the bondage of rebirth, they go to the place that is free from pain. So another translation, if you will. Bob, do you happen to have Graham Schweig's handy?
I do.
Okay.
We started with 47 or 48?
Oh, go ahead and read 47. We did that. We repeated it, but we learned it last week. Yeah, but it's such a beautiful one.
Right. So this is Graham Schweig's translation I'll start with 47. Can you all hear me? I can't really, my audio is sometimes, you're okay? All right. It is in action alone that you have a claim, never at any time to the fruits of such action. Never let the fruits of action be your motive. Never let your attachment be to inaction. 48. Established in yoga, perform actions having relinquished attachment, O conqueror of wealth, speaking of Arjuna. While remaining the same in success and no success, such sameness is said to be yoga. But that's actually the first of the Gita's 3 definitions of yoga. Verse 50 is going to give us the second one. We have to wait all the way till chapter 6 to get the third. This is verse 49. Still, action is by far inferior to the yoga of discernment, O conqueror of wealth. Seek shelter in discernment. Miserly are those who are motivated by the fruits of action. I love that particular translation of miserly. I think Sargent said despicable, but that hanging on to things that is, you think of Scrooge when you think of miserly. And so I think it's a nice translation.
What do I get? What will you give me if I do what you ask?
Right. And then finally, verse 50. One absorbed in the yoga of discernment casts off in this world both good and bad acts. Therefore, be absorbed in yoga, for yoga is skillfulness in action.
And we went to 51.
Oh, we did. Okay. Of course. Indeed, those wise ones who are absorbed in the yoga of discernment, relinquishing the fruits born of action, who are freed from the bondage of repeated births, go to a place beyond suffering.
That's a nice advertisement for yoga. It's a nice,
isn't it?
Yeah. Going to a place beyond suffering. Yeah. Even though we're supposed to not want anything for it. I mean, it's interesting. We do get a reward, even though we're not supposed to ask for it or expect it. Does anyone have another version that you'd like to share? Well, we could move on. Let's see, what time do we have? It's, according to my iPhone, it's 4:51. I'd like for you to speak up and let me know if you'd like to do a couple more verses or not, or if that's enough. Or if you have no preference.
I think it'd be great to do a couple more, Leslie.
Okay, all right. Number 52, are we at? Okay. Om Yadate Mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tadagantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. We'll break it down 2 lines at a time. Om Yadate mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati. Om Yadate mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tadagantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha tadagantasi nirvedam shrotravyasya shrutasya cha tada drashtuhu svarupe vasthanam tada. Isn't it wonderful when we encounter words with which we are familiar? Yay, we're not on another planet. Moving on. Oh, no, yeah, so we'll just repeat 52. I'm sorry, I got carried away. Om twice through 52. Yadate mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tadagantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Om Yadate mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tadagantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. 53. Om Shruti Vipratipannate Yadastasyati Nishchala Samadhavachala Buddhis Tada Yogamavapsyasi. Now, if you wish to take a breath at the end of line 3, then the buddhis would be buddhihi. That's an H with a dot under it. It's a visarga. So, in other words, it could be either one of 2 ways. Samadhavachala buddhihi tada yogamavapsyasi. Or samadhavachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyasi. So if we go fast enough, we can do those 2 lines without taking a breath. If we're slow, I will be taking a breath there. So there. Okay, twice through. Om, 2 lines apiece. Shruti vipratipannate yadastasyati nishchala. Om Shruti vipranipannate yadastasyati nishchala samadhavachala buddhihi tada yogamavapsyasi. Now I'm going to try it the other way. samadha vachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyasi. You can take a breath after tada because it's a long vowel. All together, the entire verse. Om Shruti Vipratipannate Yadastasyati Nishchala Samadha Vachala Buddhis Sada Yogamavapsyasi. One more time. Om Shruti Vipratipannate Yadastasyati Nishchala Samadha Vachala Buddhi Tada Yogamavapsyasi. We have 2 minutes left. Let's chant. Let's chant from 48 all the way through. How's that? Here we go. Om Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangantyakva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva Samatvan Yoga Uchyate. And we'll delete the other ohms. Durena Hyavaran Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddhao Sharanamanvicha Kripana Palahetavaha Buddhi Yukto Jahatiha Ubhe Sukrita Dushkrite Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam Karma Jam Buddhi Yuktahi Phalantyakva Manishinaha Janma Bandha Vinirmuktaha Padangachantyannamayam Yadate mohakalila. So I'm sorry, again. Yadate mohakalilam Buddhir vyatitarishyati Tadagantasi nirvedam Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha Shruti vipratipannate Yadastasyati nishchala Samadha vachala buddhis Tada yogamavapsyasi. My phone has 5:01, so I do believe that's enough for today. Shall we do our forgiveness ones? That was on the sheet when we had our invocations. It should be on the second page. Now it would be on the same page if you were able to access this new file. It comes with prayer for student on the same side. Yadaksharapada brashtam Matrahinantu yad bhavet Tat sarvang kshamyatam deva Narayana namostute Shrimate Narayanaya namo namaha Kayena vacha manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai Narayana yeti samarpayami sarvam shri Krishnarpanamastu. Thank you everyone so much. You're welcome to unmute yourselves, or maybe do I unmute you? You can unmute yourselves, can you know, if you want to say
Thank you
say
so much,
anything.
Leslie. Do you
Beg your
mind
pardon?
saying the name of the two chants? I have them here, but what are the names of them? How do you refer to them? The ones we just did.
Well, the titles given them that I took from our teacher is, the first one is Kshama Shlokaha. So a shloka is a verse, and Kshama means forgiveness. So the forgiveness verse. So we are asking for forgiveness for any mistakes made. And then Sattvika, Sattva. Well, Sattvika is related to the word Sattva, which of course is one of the gunas. It's the guna that we aspire to most of the time, unless we need rajas to get us going and we need tamas for sleeping. So it's easy to call sattva the good guy and too much rajas the bad guy and tamas the real bad guy, but it's not really like that. But sattvika tyagaha. Tyagaha. If I'm not mistaken, Bob, doesn't tyagaha have to do with abandonment or renunciation? Renunciation and luminous, that luminous quality that sattva gives us. So being luminous and being able to be receptive, shall we say, receptive. And kayena vacha manasendriya. Kayena, by the body, by means of the body, kaya. Vacha, by means of speech. Manasa, by means of our mind. Indriya, and our indriya, our organs of action and perception. Or va can be our. So by means of all of those things, buddhyatmana va, or by means of our buddhi, our intellect, our power of discernment, and our self. Prakriti, prakriti, that's all prakriti. Svabhavat, bhavat, intentions. Would you agree with that, Bob? Bhavat. Karomi yad, karomi, I make of that. Sakalam, sakala, the entire, the whole, the entire. Parasmai, the great entirety. Narayana iti, Narayanaya. So to Narayana, who is Lord Vishnu, who is everything. Samarpayami, I make my humble request for forgiveness, and I make my dedication. All that I dedicate with my heart, my mind, my body, my speech, organs of action, my intellect, myself, everything in Prakriti, I devote to the Lord. Intentional and unintentional, something like that.
Thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome. I am so thrilled. It's so exciting knowing people come to this every Tuesday. I can't tell you, it's such fun.
Thank
really
you so
great.
much.
Yeah. And it's nice to have our mission, isn't it? Our mission, which is to learn to chant chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. And actually, what I'd like you to consider going forward, you know, we have until verse 72, I think is the last verse in this chapter. I was contemplating whether or not you want to continue with another chapter. And if so, let me know which one. We started with chapter 2, we can go chronologically, or we could skip to chapter 6, or if you are interested in devotion, that's chapter 12. Or if you want to chant about all of the glorious and fearful, awesome things that he is, I think that's chapter 15, I'm not sure, or 11 or 10. So let me know if you'd like to continue with that, or if you'd like to take a break and we could honor Lord Shiva with some beautiful chants to Lord Shiva. And I had in mind in the booklet, the Song of the Soul, which is so beautiful, but that could take some time. So just think about things that you would like to do. And I'm very happy to continue the Bhagavad Gita. I think it's really good for us on so many levels. So.
Thank you. That sounds great.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Enjoy a wonderful week.
Happy Diwali, everyone.
Yeah, oh, is it
Thank you.
still going on?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, until when?
I believe till Thursday or Friday. I forget which. I always get confused because of the change in dates and times.
Oh,
But
good.
yes.
Because a friend of mine purchased a Ganesha and I wanted to go and chant to it, you know. Oh, and those
Oh,
of you who are
Lakshmi.
in the Iyengar world, I got an email from, I think it was the Institute in New York, and there was a link to Prashant giving a lecture, and he began it by chanting Gananan Tva Ganapati Gung Havamahe, and then Vakratunda Mahakaya. So that was very exciting. I'd never heard Gananam chanted in the Iyengar realm before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. Prashant is now recording those talks weekly there. So you can go back. He's been doing them for a number of weeks now. So if you're interested, you can listen to a bunch of them.
That's great. Where do we go for that? Do we go to iNows, I guess, or do we go to?
Well, yes, you can find them there. I just get them on YouTube, but
Okay.
but I think you can go to the Iyengar site as well.
What do you type in if to go to YouTube? Just Prashant or?
Yeah, Prashant Iyengar Rimyi, R-I-M-Y-I.
Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, that's wonderful.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hope I can join next week.
Oh, I guess it's just
Thank
us
you.
Iyengar chickens are left. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Bob. And let me know if you have thoughts on going forward with Mary Riley. How's all that coming?
Well, we finally spoke yesterday. I think it's just the two of us on the call now. Am I not? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to bore anyone else with the details. Yeah. She was having second thoughts about 18 weeks again, and we spoke yesterday and we were going to sleep on it. And I just got a text from her just before we started saying, let's go with the 18 weeks. Folks can get a recording. It's an extraordinary opportunity. And she talked about the pricing. Okay. So if that's still okay with you, and again, yes, if you have to miss a week or whatever, but we should talk at some point about which verses from each chapter you want to teach. Because it might be nice to make a chant book a la Sargent to sort of break down for each for the verses that we're going to be teaching.
Yeah. Are you thinking for us to create a good chant book for them, like and include Or should we just recommend or require that they all get a sergeant book? Most of them have it probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're going to use Schweig for the class, so they'll have that.
Good.
But that doesn't have. I mean, the Devanagari is in the back of that. It's not with each translation.
Yeah.
And it's awfully small type
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in the back.
And I have a gazillion versions of the Bhagavad Gita, which is, oh, I forgot to lead us in the Gita Dhyanam. I started with 2 verses, but
I saw that. I
Yeah.
saw that.
I just forgot to do it. I meant to do it. Oh, well. And I thought I'd start with, the 2 that are the simplest. One is, 8 syllables per line and the other is in Trishtub.
Right.
Second one. So I thought I'd start them. But anyway, I have so many versions. I've got this book.
Is that the problem?
Kid Bhavananda. But I also have the one that's the Iyengars, or I think, I can't remember. And anyway, I have a lot of different ones. Jarvis had
So do I.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Then they have
Yeah.
the Devanagari. So so we should. Are you saying we should select certain verses to chant, because otherwise it gets overwhelming? And I'll be happy to type up the ones in a chant booklet, a PDF that we can send everybody, and we'll just select those verses. Unless you want every verse from every chapter, that's kind of a lot. But
yeah, no, I don't think we need to do that. But I'm wondering. I mean, I could simply display the sergeant to teach the chants. And that way we would have a little more flexibility if we wanted to say, oh, and we really should do the next one, or everyone is really liking this, we'll do these 2. Would give us a little more flexibility.
Yeah. But on the other, that said, you're welcome to use. Do you find this handout helpful?
Well, actually, Leslie, I'm trying to train my mind to read the Devanagari, so I'm actually looking at a Devanagari version as we chant.
Great, good for you. That's great. Yeah, I do that too. But anyway,
this one is helpful.
That we couldn't chant.
But yes, this is
unless
helpful.
I made a handout. We just could not do it as a group.
Right. Well, let's think about that. Whether, I mean, we should make a plan to say, okay, we'll chant this verse from this chapter, et cetera, et cetera. So we should have because each week I would love for them to have some time with you to learn a verse.
Yeah. And when appropriate, a sequence of verses. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether we want to make a booklet of those, or I could just display the sergeant, up to us.
Okay. That this handout's already made, so they're I'm happy to contribute this handout for chapter 2. Everybody can just have it. And I can edit it. I can make corrections, or I'll make it different, whatever you think. Anyway, but if you look at that, I mean, at least you can give me some feedback as to how I can do it. I just think it's a little bit silly to try to type out every chapter. But as you say, if you can put up the sergeant thing, that would be great.
Right. But what if we chose a couple of verses from each chapter? So then that would be 36 verses, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or my math is terrible. Is that 36 verses? If we had a couple from each chapter, maybe use those as a starting point, and then we could have I could have the sergeant available if we wanted to, do a little more chanting in a certain.
Oh, that's
chapters.
A good idea. So they'll have something in their handout, but then if we want to add some, you could just pull up the sergeant thing. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, I've got to get the text for the flyer to Mary so she can start promoting this. And we should talk.
He sounded a little agitated in that first email. It's like, come on, guys. There was no love Mary. There was just Mary.
Right.
How is your friend doing? How
Well,
is
no,
your
that's
friend
well, he's in rehab now,
doing?
which we thought would be progress, and I suppose it is. But the problem is, it's like a nursing home. We can't visit him because of COVID. You can't go in, so it's really hard to tell what kind of care he's getting, how the staff is, and of course is not in a position to advocate for himself. And there's no one standing in the room saying, that's not him, or he should be able to do that, or that's something that he knows very well. So we're having trouble getting a handle on what the deficits are, whether they're lasting. So that's been frustrating. We had a care conference actually just this morning, and they want him to stay there at least through the end of the month. Yeah, and I think we kind of have to do that, because if we check him out, insurance won't cover any of the follow-ups that the
Oh.
service is recommending.
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating.
Are you
But this is
Zooming with, does he have a computer? Can you Zoom with him or talk with him at all? Or can he speak? Can he even talk? I don't know.
he can speak. He sometimes has a hard time using the phone. The computer he can't wrap his mind around right now. So mostly I talk on the phone with him. That seems to work best. I was telling Mary, I happened to be reading Oliver Sacks when all of this happened,
Oh,
the neurologist. So has given me some hope in terms of, neuroplasticity. And Peter, my friend, he's just an incredible guy. He's practices traditional Chinese medicine. He's an acupuncturist. He does yoga. He's a musician. He's a sculptor. He's an artist. So like there are so many ways into his brain, right? There's so many
great.
ways, that things can, well, that he can compensate for, and hopefully ways that connections can get, reestablished. But it's just so hard to tell anything right now. At least when he was in the hospital, it was one at a time, but we could visit him and we could talk to the doctors and talk to the staff. So it's just the rehab situation has been kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's a blessing. I guess we just try to count the blessing. I'm so glad he can at least hear your voice. I mean, and have some
Yeah.
connection, so he doesn't feel completely alienated.
Yeah. And
Oh,
that seems to be a good way in. I mean, he's the oral process works for him, certainly better than written right now.
uh-huh.
So yeah.
Is he ambulatory? Can he sit up? Can he walk?
Oh yeah. I mean, the deficits that we're aware of have to do with certain kinds of cognition. Like if you ask him to count backwards by threes, he can't do that. Now, that's not a skill you need to get through life, but it does point to some kind of deficit. But he can play the ukulele. That's the only instrument that we sent with him, because it's not so loud.
That's not so easy all the time. Good for him. I'm taking ukulele lessons myself.
I remember you mentioned that. Is this a new pursuit?
It's fairly new. It started before COVID, because we were meeting in person. It started about a year ago, actually. And I used to play at it a little bit because I grew up in Hawaii and everybody had an ukulele and stuff. But now there's a wonderful teacher up here in Bethel, and so she's figured out how to have classes on Zoom. But last week we met outdoors, and yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, I just we're playing Beatles songs and
wonderful.
having a great time. Good for him. That's fantastic, because that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, he's doing it definitely as therapy, but it is also, you know, it's just a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So
Well, I didn't mean to change the subject.
anyway,
Anyway, I didn't want to change the subject, but I did want to find out, you know, how things are. And yeah, so
yeah.
anyway,
So yeah, I'm about to, I'll CC you on the stuff that I sent to Mary, and if you want to,
okay.
you know, change anything or whatever, that's fine too. But yeah, she did text me this afternoon and say, let's go ahead and do the 18 weeks, and people can get the recording. And you know, as I say, if you have to miss you know, a session or two, that's fine as well. Although you have to coach me on the chanting for that week if you are
Okay.
not going to be there.
Agreed. But we have no plans to
so-
go anywhere, so you know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be good. It'll be a good way to get through the winter. You know.
Yes, I think so. So
Yeah.
what is the date where she wants to start? Do we know what date we're starting?
The second week in January, the second Saturday in January.
Coming up.
So
It'll be in the morning.
I think it's the 9th, January 9th.
Oh, okay. That's soon. It's going to be upon us very soon.
It is. So I will try and get all this stuff together. We should also figure out which verses from the Kyanam we want to open with each week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I do like the one that you included last week about the Gita being the cream of the Upanishads. I do like that one.
Yeah, that's a sweet one.
And then I'll send you the other two verses that I learned to chant when I first was hearing this. They're not consecutive in the Dhyanam, but I'll send you those, and we'll figure out which ones to chant at the beginning of each session.
Yeah.
And maybe we take a little bit of time at the beginning of each session so we don't overwhelm them. We'll chant the whole thing together and say, today you're going to learn the first line, and then we'll you know, do it week after week, so that by the end of 18 weeks they can chant 3 shlokas of the Gita Dhyanam as well.
Yeah, and you know, the ones they all have a different numbers of meters, so they're all in different meters. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago when I got feedback from the participants in my chant group because I was changing the tune around because I was worried people were getting bored, and Patty asked that we keep it the same tune because it's easier for them to learn. The first time I heard the Gita Dhyanam was with Shubraji. Do you have that recording by Shubraji?
I don't know if I have it. I've heard it though.
Actually, I may have sent it to you. Anyway, it's on her Chants for Healing or something. It's in the purple one. And so it was just an interesting way of doing it. So example, for the first one, she goes, Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Svayam. I'm sort of messing it up. Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam. I mean, this is not easy. That's the first one. But
the 2 verses that I learned as an invocation are
Vasudeva Sutam.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam. So she has that as 5. I actually look what I found, Leslie, right here next to my computer.
Yeah. Yay. That's
Yes.
the one. That's my one.
So yes, 5 and
that Vasudeva one, that's in Anushtup, so that's okay.
And then verse 8. Mukam karoti vachalam.
I love that one too.
Yes.
Too. Oh, and that's also.
So maybe we do 2, 5, and 8 for Mary's group.
Yeah. Period.
As
No
an
more.
invocation.
No more.
unless you think is it inauspicious to begin with 5? Do we need to salute Vyas as well?
I don't know. How many are there altogether? Is it 9 of them? The auspicious 9? I mean, oh, 8. Yeah, there are 9. It's like the importance of the number 9 is expressed here. And actually, it was reading a little bit from this book that I showed you that he talks about about number 9, and I didn't realize, I had never realized that any multiple of 9, when you add up the components, they add up to 9. So 9 times 9 is 81. 8 plus 1 is 9. And then you go on the computer and do 9 times 5,280, and then
Right.
it all, if you add up all the digits, they all add up to 9. And
Yep.
that isn't so with any other number. I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think that's right. I think that's right. Same thing with 108. That's why 108 is auspicious as well.
Well, 3 is a derivative of 9. 3 times 3 is 9. So
Yes.
if we stayed
Yeah.
with 3, I think that would be, because
Great. So we would do 4, 5, and 8 then?
sounds great. And that would be a great handout right there. 4, 5, and 8. We'll just do those.
Great. Great. All right, listen, I've got to run. But it was lovely to chat with you. What a nice boon that you got to be the host, and we can have a little chat.
Yeah, thank
Zoom
you so
chat
much.
as well.
That's right, because we can't otherwise. Yeah, it's great. Bob, how great. It's such a joy when I see your face, when I see you on this. And it's
Oh,
are you finding it good? I mean, do you think this is a good way of doing this, what we're doing? I just sort of follow what people seem to need,
yeah, no, it's great. It's great. My impulse with the Gita is always to take time and unpack certain things, but I like the way you're doing it. It's as far as an oral drilling, not drilling, but the repetition is great.
Yeah.
And and it's wonderful for me because I'm looking here at a large print Devanagari page, so that's actually really helping me to have
Great.
your sounds connected to those
Good.
letters. So that's been really helpful for me.
Fantastic.
So, and I hope my questions are not derailing us.
Not at all. Not at
um,
all. Not at all.
okay.
And it's just such a treat for you because you have all the knowledge of the, the substance of the text. And so it's wonderful. And I was worried, that I was depending too much on you, and I didn't want to, use you in a bad way, but anything you offer, I'll take. I mean, and yeah, it's helpful. It's
Well,
helpful to know what I can do. And, I can teach people how to pronounce it. I may not understand the whole meaning, but we have the vocabulary in the textbooks and we get that. But I may not, have a depth of understanding of everything, but I can at least tell them how to pronounce it. That I know. So it's really good. I'm finding it enjoyable to understand my own strengths and keep to them, and then learn also, so.
oh, good. Well, I have a couple. I'm going to have to miss a couple coming up, but every time I'm free, I'll definitely be here.
Wonderful. I so appreciate it. Okay. Have a great evening,
right.
Bob. Thank you. I guess I'll
You
end the
too.
meeting.
Happy. All right.
Okay.
And do your Lakshmi chant for Diwali. That's very auspicious.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Happy Diwali.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you. You
Bye-bye.
too. Ciao.